In tuned to Armed Forces Radio 107.7 FM. This is Morning Parade, and it's the Morning Girl segment on the Morning Parade. And of course, myself and Nene are in the studio. Nene, good morning once again.
Good morning, Abuja.
Yeah, good morning. So this morning we are talking about the girl child. We're going to be looking at the economic benefit of girls' education in Nigeria. The 55% solutions are empowering girls to reach their full potential and breaking the cycle, ending child marriage and early pregnancy in girl child, and champion for change that is a call to action, empowering girls to create a brighter future. Of course, when you talk about girl child education in Nigeria, that has faced significant challenges since the country's independence in 1960. The education system was largely inherited from the British colonial era, which prioritized education for boys over girls. And despite progress in recent years, girl child education in Nigeria remains a pressing concern. According to UNESCO, Nigeria has one of the highest numbers of out-of-school children in the world, with over 10 million children aged between 5 to 14 not attending school. Girls are disproportionately affected, with 60% of out-of-school children being girls. And these girls are in primary and junior secondary level. More than 50% of girls in Nigeria are not attending school at the basic education level. And regrettably, about 1 million girls dropped out between the first and last year of primary school, and 0.6 million between primary 6 and JSS 1. So girls are said to account for 38% of Nigeria's out-of-school children, as their education is being hindered by so many barriers. And when you're talking about barriers, such barriers include, thank you, such barriers include child marriage, poverty is also another, cultural and social barriers, and displacement, which is occasioned by insecurity and conflict, is another, to lack of infrastructure and gender discrimination. So all of these prevent the girl child from learning and completing her education. The World Bank also revealed that 45% of girls in Nigeria give birth before the age of 18 years, raising concerns about the education of girls in Nigeria. We won't be doing this alone this morning. We have joining us in the studio Gladys Emmanuel. Gladys Emmanuel is an advocacy officer and in-house lawyer for Tabitha Empowerment Center. Gladys, good to have you this morning.
Thank you
on
very much.
Morning Parade.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Good morning. Nene.
Okay, Gladys, we just go straight into the question. Now we are Armed Forces Radio, so we call it thinking locally to act globally. So, people will be wondering, who is a girl child?
All right. So a girl child is a female child. It spans usually within the phases of infancy and teenage years. And a girl child is actually a very integral member of the society. She is one that should be able to access care, get education, resources, and just live a life that is free from all forms of discrimination and inhumane treatment.
All right. So what is the importance of educating the girl child?
So when we talk about education now, we are not restricting to the four walls of the classroom. So it means education for formal, informal, and even vocational training or other forms of skill building. The first thing it does is it builds the agency of the girl child. What is agency? Agency is your ability to be able to speak up for causes that concern you. Now, when the girl child is able to access education, the first thing it does for her is her capacity is built. She has knowledge. She's she's able to advocate things around, for instance, climate change, gender equality, leadership, more representation of girls, things around menstrual hygiene. These things can only come about when a girl child is empowered, when she has education, access to education. Another thing is it gives her access to representation in leadership. Now, unfortunately, when we check out both at community level and even local level or national level, we see very minimal representation of women as a whole. And then when it comes to girls, they are almost invisible. But with capacity being built, with education, they would have more girls being represented in leadership. Then also education makes them change makers. And as a change maker, you are able to contribute effectively both to your family, both to the society at large. They become an asset. They're able to make valuable and informed decisions when it comes to discuss around things maybe in politics, things around empowering more girls, things around peer education, mentorship, and the likes.
All right, so talking about politics, how well do you think that educating a child will help the girl child, to be to actively participate in politics? You remember former President Goodluck Jonathan did hammer on 35% affirmative for the girl action for the girl child. What's your take on this?
So when it comes to the political terrain now, I would like to compare vis-a-vis with what we have in the Western world. An average Nigerian girl, perhaps you get into one of the communities, an average Nigerian girl first doesn't even know what her basic rights are. And without knowing what your basic rights are, you cannot push for leadership. You don't even know what good leadership looks like, or what leadership that is not serving the people looks like. So with information, their capacity is being built. Some of them, you see that they're timid. There's low self-esteem. These things come as a result of not being able to trust themselves, not being able to believe so much in themselves. But with education, with mentorship, with those who have gone before us, forerunners, whether feminists, whether advocates, taking the hands of these young girls and training them and guiding them along the ropes, we see that their capacity is being built. They now say, you know what, I feel like I should be able to put forward and show my interest, that I want to get involved in politics, even if it's politics as little as classroom. I remember back then in school, when they say they want to nominate a class rep, you see the male folks stand up.
Exactly.
We rarely see female folks stand up. The best that is given to the female folks is after they've done the election, then they can say, oh, for balance, or then they can say, just so that we also have some female representation, okay, let us have a girl be the assistant or the vice. How about we build the capacity of girls to stand up and say, you know what, I want that seat, and I'll go for that seat, and I'll get that seat.
So many a times, the girls are faced with a lot of obstacles from the male folks, where you see rejection, just like the example that you just cited now, where you see a girl vying for an office and you see some men saying they don't want a woman. How that it's impossible that a woman should lead or dictate the affairs of that particular organization or body, or even in a school environment. So what do you think about this?
So, unfortunately, Nigeria is one of the countries that is patriarchal in nature. And what this means is we often hear people say it's a man's world. We often hear people say it's a male-dominant society. And that is one of the root causes of our problems. Now, we also look at cultural barriers. We can see some religious doctrines that also foster this. We can see weak implementation of certain laws. We can see uneven representation of women at various spheres in the society. We can see certain careers that are, they call it strictly only men. You, for instance, it's just lately we started having more women in the aviation sector. Before we used to have mostly men. If you go into STEM, it's now we've seen advocacy and a crusade of female engineers, female mathematicians saying, you know what, let us encourage and motivate more girls to get into this terrain. So our major issue is patriarchy. But we have started to dismantle this by advocacy, by sensitization, by building male allyship. It is a work in progress. It is not going to be automatic, but it is something that is doable if we commit to it and we're intentional enough.
Yeah. Thank you, Gladys. Gladys, obviously, we need, I'm a girl child too, we need access. So how best can we improve girls' access to education?
All right, so the first thing we need to do is we need to sensitize communities, families, and even community gatekeepers to understand the value first of education. Because even if we say, let us give access to education, if the community is not supportive, if people are not supportive, if the family is not supportive, all efforts will be in vain. So first we need to change that mindset. You see, that mindset that views a girl child as one that once you're giving birth to, from that point to when you become maybe a teenager or an adult, we are grooming you to be married. We need to shift to the standpoint where we see her as a very important and vital part of society. In fact, we need to begin to see the girl child as a major contributor in society. But before we get to that point, we need to invest in the girl child and invest in communities. So aside the sensitization of communities, families, and community gatekeepers, and gatekeepers now I mean both your traditional rulers, your religious leaders, your women leaders, and all, the next thing we also need to do is economically empower families. One of the reasons why parents marry off their kids, aside illiteracy, is poverty. They tell you, I do not have sufficient funds to cater for her. In fact, in the organization I work, over and over again, I've had the privilege of we supporting girls and other vulnerable children back to school. In fact, in the year 2024, we supported about 13 children. And one of the hitches or complaints we always get from the community or the parents is, I don't have sufficient money. So they do a scale of preference with their kids. If there's a male child and then there's a female child, it means that the male needs to go to school first, while the female would wait or learn a trade. So we need to make parents understand the importance of this. But before we do that, we also need to economically empower them. Now, there is this current trend that governments are adopting in various parts of the world. It's called conditional cash transfer. So what this means is you let your girl child go to school. In exchange, the government gives you certain money to either set up a business or take care of the family. That way, there is no excuse for not allowing the girl go back to school. And then we also have things around providing scholarship at least to the level of junior or senior secondary school. Then the girl can decide if I want to further, or I want to learn a trade, or I want to do something else. And also free and compulsory education. I like what is being done in Abia State right now, where the governor has said whether or not a child is an indigent, so long as it's a child within the jurisdiction of Abia State, you must go to school. We need to make this a rule across the board. And also we need to push for implementation of our laws. You see those laws such as the Child Rights Act that seeks to eliminate things like and the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act 2015 that seeks to eliminate things like child marriage, things like preventing or a girl child from access to education or discrimination. We need to start to implement those various sections across all the states in the country. And of course, one of the other things is training teachers too, and training basically tutors or educationists to have a conducive environment for learning, an environment that is not judgmental, an environment that does not stigmatize. We've had teenage mothers who say, irrespective of the fact that I dropped out a few years, I still want to go back to school. But how welcoming is the school environment? Sometimes they come back and they're stigmatizing, oh, that's the girl who got pregnant out of wedlock, or this is the girl who was raped as a result of XYZ scenario. Now, these things will definitely deter any girl from going back to school. We also need to look at mentorship. It's not only scholarship. I was in a community in December, and one of the gatekeepers was narrating his ordeal. He said an organization came to our community, stated they wanted to provide scholarship for about 10 girls for the next 6 years, and that 6 years spans till they get to university. You would not believe it, some of the girls declined.
Wow.
They declined, saying they do not know whether school is for them or not. Some say, oh, our parents said we should work on the farm, that is more profitable than going to school. So for us to be able to change this mindset, it's not going to be automatic. So what we need to do is mentorship. We need to get women who have gone through the 4 walls of education, are doing well. Let them be a reflection or a mirror for these girls to see the value or the impact of education. So these are some of the solutions.
Gladys,
Thank you.
I've seen a situation in our community. It's not the men that are putting us down. I find out that it's women doing this to women. Like, I graduated from a school where they will be telling that don't come out for anything, just graduate and go. And these are women, and these are women lecturers. So how can we promote gender equality in this term? Because it's not the men that are against us, it's not the boys that are against us. They are not telling us to come, but it's the same gender telling you stay where you are.
All right. So I have worked in the gender equality space or development space for a while, and one thing I've noticed, you are very correct. Now, sometimes these laws or norms that drive gender equality are made by the men, but who are the executors? Who are the drivers? It is the women. So even when we look at things like harmful widowhood practices, who are the persons who carry out the act? It is the women. And this comes from a standpoint of, this is what we grew up with. This is what we learned. This is what our mothers taught us. If you ask some of these women now, what is your reason for not vying for a position? What is your reason for not attaining or wanting to attain these heights? They will tell you that, well, our mothers didn't do it, so, and it's better sitting in their comfort zone than going all out. So we still talk about things around mentorship. We still talk about things like gender equality sensitization. We still talk about things like building the agency of women and girls. It's not something that will go away instantly, because this has been with us for a very long time. But if we take all of this, and also we need to look at our laws and engagement too with policymakers. Now, if we create an avenue where women and girls can engage with policymakers, we bring women who have, even if they vowed for positions and they didn't get in, but at least they have made attempts, this will motivate them. This will break that fear, that self-esteem issue, because if you check deep down, some of these women are very qualified, but it's fear, it's what will society think of me. Sometimes society see women who want to go above and beyond with their goals. They see you or call you overly ambitious. What does that even mean? But a man does that and everyone applauds him. So it all comes from the standpoint of changing our mindset, which is something we must do or achieve strategically.
And this is just like an outcry this morning. If we look at the Daily Trust this morning, it's crying out, how can we protect our teenage girls from harvests? As in, there are some set of syndicates out there harvesting their organs. How can we protect our teenage girls?
So when we look at organ harvesting, it is a form of human trafficking. And human trafficking is a form of gender-based violence. It is clearly stated under the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act 2015. And the agency of the government mandated to address issues of human trafficking is NAPTIP, National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons. Now, one thing that we see with most girls who are trafficked is, one, there is poverty. They feel the grass is greener on the other side. They want a better life for themselves and their families, and as such, they fall into the traps of these syndicates or these perpetrators. Additionally, we see lack of enlightenment. They don't know what the red flags are. Someone is chatting you up on Facebook and says, come and meet me at XYZ location. You are not asking questions. You're not digging deep. You're not doing your due diligence. You pack up your things, you go and meet this person, and well, sometimes the end result is always tragic. So we also need to educate girls to be self-sufficient. Do not rely on anybody. Don't see anybody as your next meal. Don't see anybody as your means of livelihood. And also, parents need to create that avenue where their daughters can converse with them. If the environment or atmosphere at home is very toxic, if the girl child is not able to speak to her mom, or she's afraid to converse with her dad because she might get some form of reprimanding, then chances are that she would seek solace somewhere. So parents also have a role to play. Then communities too. This is a point, or this is a call to community leaders now. They also need to get involved in this advocacy that we're doing. They need to also include it in their local norms, where we teach our young people that you can make it from where you are. You don't have to go somewhere else. You don't have to rely on someone. When someone is chatting up with you and then begin to ask some questions, or asking you to see them in a certain location, and they're telling you, okay, ensure you come by yourself and things like that, you should begin to know that this is a red flag. A few days ago, there was something trending on Twitter, which is now X, about someone who says there is a house help job at Guarimpa, and they said the pay is it about 250,000, and immediately I saw Naptip commented on that, and they were also very interested in
No. I want to believe that that can be an original. I could be wrong and I could be right. It's either ways. I want to believe that that is not from Naptip's official website. Probably somebody
someone else's clothing, right?
Yes, exactly.
But again, it's to put people in check. I mean, that way you see that the authorities are there. They are online, they are offline, they are watching. And it will begin to put people in check. And one good thing that most government agencies or CSOs are doing is they're taking this advocacy out. The last time we held a community sensitization, we visited Kurudu community. We had over 30 persons in attendance, but we splitted them into two. The oldies one way, and then the youngsters one way. We wanted to hear from the youngsters. We knew that merging them together, we would not get the best
result
from them. And to be honest, they poured out their heart. Someone there talked about these so-called opportunities where they say, oh, there's the job for domestic staff, there's a job for XYZ and all of that. Then we also have CSOs that are going the extra mile. They're trying to unionize domestic workers now. So that way there's some form of regulation. The pay is regulated, the treatment is regulated. If someone feels aggrieved, there is a body, a recognized body to make your complaints or send your complaints to, and that way we will begin to see a gradual change. But again, this is my call to the young people. You can make it from wherever you are. Please do not fall prey to the antics of these human traffickers. These people have become very, they've changed their gimmicks time and time again. Gone were the days when it used to be modeling jobs. Gone were the days when it used to be football clubs are looking for people. Right now, they tell you there's an ushering job. They tell you a company wants to hire persons. Some even go as far as, I remember someone narrating over, he said even when he checked the so-called site they sent to him, it actually brought out a few things. But after so much investigation, he saw that this wasn't true, and then he tossed it aside. Unfortunately, we've had cases of young girls who were trafficked. My organization personally has had relatives coming to complain that they can't find young girls, they can't find this. And at the end of the day, when you trace and trace, you discover that these girls have been trafficked. Some we cannot trace where they are, some have died in the process. So we need to be very careful both online and offline.
Okay. Gladys, yesterday we had a doctor on Morning Real. He attended one of these, the last year 2024 family planning conference. So he's a doctor on site. He knows this thing. So there is this outcry. He said what they see, 14 years, 13, 15. They are not, it's not the first husband. These are 14, 13-year girls going for the second husband with a child. Now, so the question is, what strategy will be effective in increasing girls' enrollment and retention in school?
Okay, so when we're looking at solutions now, the first, like I mentioned earlier, is we need to economically empower families. The reason people marry off their daughters or continue to marry off their daughters is they think, well, if I can't take care of her, perhaps there's someone out there who might be able to do a better job. So we see that girls are married off at very early age. Then another thing is, as government, as a people, as a community, we also need to create that safe environment. Now, with the spate of insecurity also, some parents feel the only way to guarantee the safety of my daughter is to marry her off. Perhaps marry her off to someone who is more wealthy, someone more influential, that way she's been protected. But in the real sense of it, that is not absolute protection. Then we also need to look at zero tolerance environment also in schools. So this is two ways. It is both for the community and families, and it's also for the school. We also need to look at zero tolerance environment. We do not have, most schools do not have the zero policy to GBV tolerance policy now, or framework. They do not have that. So that's where we continue to hear cases and cases of gender-based violence creeping up in schools. Now, with regards to the continuous marriage and even childbearing of underage girls, it also lies heavily with community. If a community entertains a particular thing, it becomes a norm, whether it is right or whether it is wrong. So we also would appeal to the gatekeepers. We also need to sensitize the gatekeepers now, because the people marrying these girls are men.
Exactly.
Yes. So we need to sensitize the gatekeepers. Let them move from the standpoint of women are giving birth or girls are giving birth to and to be married off. Let them begin to see women as, you know what, we need to groom them, we need to encourage them, we need to build their capacity so that they can contribute towards the growth of the community. Another thing is, we also need to look at building male allyship. What does this mean? It means we need to use the men to fight the ill. And the only way to do this is to build their capacity. Right now, my organization, one thing that we have done over the years from 2021 into till date is we have continued to train men and boys to be at the forefront of GBV advocacy, of women's rights advocacy. So sometimes we announce we are coming for sensitization. You expect to see a woman, and behold, you see a man. It's a different narrative. You have more male folks listening to him. So we also need to train our men and boys. They don't need to see women or girls as competition. We are both partners in progress. Together we can achieve the quality and the stability of the society that we have been striving to achieve. One gender cannot do it alone. We need collaborative effort. So when you train men and boys, they stand at the forefront. And so it's more like you see something, you say something. Someone wants to marry off somebody, even if they intend to do it in secret, you quickly escalate it to your ESU or your chief or whoever is in charge, and that person calls the parties together. I hope we know that child marriage is an offense. The fact that it is something we condone doesn't mean it's normal, actually. Because with child marriage, we see things around health risks. Sometimes girls even die from issues of child marriage, maybe complications with childbearing and all of that. So raising male allyship, building the capacity of communities, empowering families, empowering schools, making schools safer, even transportation systems too. Some girls have had to work miles and miles to get to school. This deters them. Even things around sanitation and menstrual hygiene. Now, in communities where girls can, the smallest sanitary pad now we get is about 1,000 naira, right?
True.
A girl in a rural community might not be able to afford that. So it means that for the 3, 4, 7 days she's seeing her period, she would be at home. She has missed out on school. So in an entire term, she might be missing school for 21 days. That is a long time. For her to get back and catch up with her
Yes.
male counterparts, it's going to be very difficult. So we want to look around things like menstrual hygiene, also providing the same way we go to certain public spaces and you see free condoms, give free sanitary pads to girls, give free sanitary pads to women. Let schools look at toilet system as very important and not an option. Let them see things around sanitation like water and all as not an option. Then also knowledge around sexual reproductive health rights. Most girls, even most women, it's sad to say, do not even know anything about sexual and reproductive health rights. They do not know that there's something called bodily autonomy. My body, my choice, right? They do not know there are things around consent. I remember the last time we went to sensitize a community, someone was married. She's a married woman, actually. She's quite elderly. And while we were giving our lecture, she stood up and said, "Auntie, I beg, no vex, so make I ask this question. So it means say now that as my husband dey, before he go get anything to do with me, he must ask me." And we said yes. He said, "But as he don't pay bride price, now it's supposed to be the full package." I said, "No. By virtue of the law, you are a human being and you have what is called human rights. So you have a decision to say, or you can make the choice to say, you know what, yes or no. If he goes ahead with the no, he has committed an offense, madam. It is called rape. Anyhow we want to look at it. Although we haven't seen many people come out to say, I am suing for spousal rape. All we see is spousal battery. Doesn't mean that it is not an offense. And we are gradually moving to that point where these offenses are called out for what they are and they are punished for what they are.
They are. Okay. So now talking about male allyship, what advice do you have for fathers who do not see the girl child as a child, or fathers who do not pay attention to the girl child as much as they do to the boy child?
It's quite unfortunate when we look at this bias in treatments in the home. Unfortunately, that is where our issue started from. It started from the home front, where a boy is watching TV, his sister is cooking, or the sister goes to school, the guy is at home, there are plates in the sink, he's waiting for her to come back from school. Whenever she does, to do the dishes, the father doesn't see anything wrong with it. Rather, he says, I mean, you're a woman now, caring work is the job of a woman. Now, society has construed or reduced the abilities of women to carers and carers alone. But that is not the truth. And that is where some of this misconception comes in, where we see that a woman is supposed to tend to the home front, she's supposed to clean, she's supposed to wash. If at all we would go take her to school, maybe it's a second option, you know, she doesn't need to achieve so much and things like that. So for such fathers, you're making a mistake. If there's any father listening who thinks a male child is better than a female child, you're making a mistake. They are both children. They are both children recognized under the law, whether it's the domestic law, whether it's the international law or regional laws. They are all children recognized. The same treatment should be given you give to the male, you should also ascribe the same to the female. It's the same human rights they all exhibit. The only difference is perhaps the biological makeup. That's the only difference, but it doesn't take away the fact that they are both human beings. So for parents, I want them to appreciate the girl child. The girl child she's liquid gold, actually. Without the girl child, there's no next generation. I don't know if you thought about that. And we might say she's not important, but if all women decide today that, you know what, we don't want to give birth anymore, what is going to happen in the next 100 years, in the next 50 years? So we need to look out for the girl child. It's quite unfortunate to continue to have these scenarios. There was one village we visited, and the school fees then was 1,500 naira. And the father said, I'd rather pay for the boy than pay for the girl. In fact, in his words, the money I used to pay for the girl, I used to buy a recharge card for my phone. So it means that there's no value ascribed to the girl child. We need to change that mindset. Women are great contributors in society. Look around you today, political terrain, from January till now, it's women being announced as occupying different, in fact, from last year, different women all around the globe smashing glass ceilings and and making or getting to heights that we never believed women would be able to achieve. So it means that if a girl child is well nurtured, if a woman is well nurtured, there is no stopping her.
All right, so there is this saying that educate the girl child, and you will be educating the entire nation. How is the education of a girl child important to the development of the society?
Now, when we look at providing education, like I mentioned earlier, now education is not restricted to just formal education alone. We have some people who say, I want to learn a skill, I want to learn a trade. That is also some form of education. Because with education, women are able to come up with ideas. Women are very creative, or girls, females generally, are very creative. I was watching a video a few days ago and someone says women have the sixth sense. And I totally agree with that person. Women have proven over time that whether it's in entrepreneurship, in governance, in the military, in CSO space, wherever you place them, they will thrive.
True.
You place a woman in a dry land or in a desert, she'll bring out something from the desert. That is the way we are fashioned. That's the way we are crafted. So when you provide education to one girl, what she's able to do is cascade this down to her peers, cascade this down to even her children. We have people who, I come from a family of 2 lawyers, myself and my older sibling. Now, my mom is not a lawyer. We're able to cascade this down. And we look not at the present. We're also very futuristic in our thinking. Women are innovators. For them, they see, while other people might see a business now, for them, they're looking at how do we improve? How do we make it better? In the next 10 years, what will become of it? So that is what education does. It builds agency. It makes a woman bold. She's able to champion a cause wherever you place her. So this is what it means to me when we say you educate a woman, we educate a nation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
for that.
Gladys. Gladys, want to throw light a little on your organization that is still looking at girls like, it's not right, but let's say if education is an option, what does your organization, what skills, what knowledge do they think is essential to convince these girls? What do your organization kind of provide or promote in a situation like this, that normally out of 100 we'll find some that are willing to go, grateful that they are being paid for, but some are just there. So what skill, what knowledge do your organization provide in a situation like this?
All right. So my organization, Tabitha Empowerment Center, were established in 2017. Now, part of what we do is we support. Now, with this project, we're able to reach out to over 20 women. Now, these women include widows, both young widows. They also include GBV, gender-based violence survivors. And of course, some of them are vulnerable women. And one thing we do for them is we provide them with financial literacy training. Everyone knows how to start a business, but not everyone knows how to sustain and grow a business. So what we did was, in the first year, we collaborated, and then they ensured that the women continue to save. On our own path as an organization, we undertook what is known as monitoring and evaluation, which is a key aspect of project implementation. You need to monitor the process. You need to ensure that are there challenges? Do we need to retweak any part of the project to suit an existing or a present need, one that perhaps we did not envisage while drafting or designing the project? So one of the things we did is we adopted the use of logbooks. We went, we saw where they were going to start off the business, or for some who already had existing businesses, where the businesses are. So we sent out personnel every once in a while, go and check up on XYZ person, take pictures, take down notes, and just have an interaction with her. And it's surprising because, in fact, one of our success stories is that of a woman, as that when she joined the initiative, or we brought her on board as a beneficiary, She was a survivor of gender-based violence. Husband abandoned her. The only means of livelihood was selling moi moi in a wheelbarrow. How much would she make in a day? She had 4 kids. Landlord had tossed them out, so it was a lot for her. But with this initiative and the seed capital, we also give seed capital after the training. With that seed capital, she has done so well for herself. One of her kids is about to get into the university. She now travels the country cooking for different occasions. She is doing very well for herself. So it shows that there is growth over time. Now, the second part of it is for the young people, which is mostly for the young girls. And we call it the Girls Vanguard. The reason for this initiative is, one, we notice the spate of teenage pregnancy. We notice lots of girls engaging in some exploitative means to make a living. We notice that lots of them do not have interest in going back to school. So with the Girls Vanguard project, which will be kicking off March, all things being equal, we are getting about 20 girls from communities. We are getting mentors. In fact, we've secured mentors that are skilled in sexual and reproductive health rights, mentors that are skilled in leadership. We also have a culinary expert. Let them go is to build them into world-class citizens, world-class girls who can sit down, have engage in dialogues, meaningful dialogues that will bring about change. Also become peer educators, become a motivation for other girls. Other girls see them, they see what they're doing, they see the impact they're making, they want to be like them.
All right, so before we open the telephone line, let's talk about, we've talked so much about the girl child. You know, I am also an advocate of of balance. You know, when you talk about the girl child, you should also, there are also measures to be put in place, because when you leave the boy child behind, you know, we'll be doing ourselves a greater service, you know, because these are boys that might end up getting married to these girls tomorrow. And you know, when someone's when their belief system does not align, that is where you begin to have clash, friction in the family. So what do you think should be done alongside? Yes, we know that over time, over the years, a lot of attention has been given, you know, to the boy child. And in this regard, we don't want to leave the boy child. I have people who also advocate for the boy child. Yes, so we want the balance, you know, want to balance it. How best can we do this?
All right, it's very important to actually engage the boy child, and I'll draw from what my organization is currently doing. So when we provide access to education through our various scholarship schemes, we do not leave the boy child out of the equation. However, more attention is focused on the girl child, and the reason is this: we have more girls who are out of school than we have male folks. Also, it's very important to bring the male folks into this discussion. We're talking of gender equality. The female gender is not the only gender we have in the country or in the world. We also have the male gender. So it's very important to bring them on board this conversation. One thing my organization has done is we started off something known as the Anti-Gender-Based Violence School Drive. We believe so much in catching them young. We believe that it is at that very young stage you're able to change mindset and able to make very serious changes or transformation in the life of children, and then they become better for it as they advance in age. So one thing we've done is, aside the sensitization that we do, we have also gone forward to establish school clubs. Now, these school clubs, we designed school curriculums. With these curriculums that regulate or guide the school clubs, they are aiming at achieving a gender transformative environment. What does that mean? It means we are changing the mindset. It's no longer business as usual. It's no longer what you used to know or what you used to see before. We now make the male folks or boys understand that you see the girl, there's no difference. You are all the same. You're all partners in progress. She's not inferior to you. You're not superior to her. Now, that is for the little ones. for primary school. We have also escalated this to the universities and secondary schools. We've sent out these messages, we've designed materials, various IC materials, to just push this agenda or make this point known to them. When we look at the older men, or when we look at older men now, or youths, one thing we've also done is we have conscripted most of them as community champions. So what does community champion mean? It means you are the eyes and ears of your community. It means you are in charge of your community. And what we've done is we didn't just appoint them, we took them through series of training. You need to change that mindset. So we had representatives from NAPTIP come in. We had representatives from Men Engage Nigeria, which is a men and boys organization that is targeted at achieving gender equality. We had representatives from, we had a psychologist coming. We had lawyers who are skilled in alternative dispute resolution coming to teach them. We also had them being taught on the length and breadth of the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act. So with all of this training, we are able to bring them up to speed as to this is where the world is right now. Do not look at issues of gender equality as the Western man's ideology. It is something we must embrace. It is something we must embody. And another way we also involve the male folks is everybody loves football.
Exactly.
So we use football as a strategy. The last time we had between two communities, in fact to be precise, Kurudu and Pegi community, we organized a football match for male folks only. We had an intention. The intention was to provide sensitization, provide awareness on gender-based violence. So before the match started, we had representatives from NAPTIP, we had representatives from the International Federation of Women Lawyers, from CSO Space. We had traditional rulers there, and they provided information. After the sensitization, then came the football match. Every single medal that was won, every single trophy that was won, every single certificate that was issued, it had the inscription, let me paraphrase now, in recognition of your support towards the elimination of gender-based violence in your community. So these men take this home, they frame it, and it's a constant reminder that we are in this together. It is not a women's fight alone. It is not a female conversation alone. It is a collective responsibility.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Okay, you've been listening to Morning Grill on Armed Forces Radio. Our topic today is the girl child. We are looking at the economic benefit of a girl child in Nigeria, the 55 solution, breaking the circle, and we want to be champion of change. So we've been talking to Gladys on the girl child from what her organization have been doing out there in Kurudu and other region of Abuja. So do well to call us on 07072426258. I'll call the number again, 07072426258.
Yeah.
So you can call Gladys to ask a question and maybe share your experience with us. We are all in this together.
All right, we have our first caller. Okay, we lost that call. Do call us back on 070-7242-6258. Hello, good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
What is your name and where are you calling us from? Oh, network. You better be good to us this morning. Yeah. All right, please call us back. We are waiting for your call on 070-7242-6258. Let's hear your thoughts. And Gladys is here to take your questions as we progress into the discussion of the day. So, Gladys, what advice do you have for mothers too? You know, we've asked you for, okay, let's take this call. Hello, good morning. Good morning. Again. Okay, we are still expecting your call. Do call us back. We want to hear from you. We want to feel your pulse too. You want to share experience with us, anything at all. call us back on 070-7242-6258. Let's have you contribute to this topic this morning. Okay, so Gladys, let's talk about effect of lack of female education. What do you think are the adverse effect of lack of female education in the society?
All right. With the absence of female education, the one thing we'll definitely see is a recurrent cycle of poverty. Yes. A woman who is not empowered, a woman who doesn't have skills, a woman who is not able to add value to the society, she would not be able to contribute to anything economically.
Let's quickly take this
Okay.
call. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, ma.
Good morning, sir. Your name, where are you calling us from? Hello? Oh, I don't know why the call is dropping. Please call us back. Do not be deterred by the network. Call us back. We are waiting anxiously to have your thoughts and contribution this morning. So Gladys, you were talking about.
Yes.
Yeah.
So in the absence of female education, we'll see poverty continue to be around that female or her family because she's not empowered. She can't bring forth, there's no value she's adding both to herself, to her family, to her community, or even the society at large. Women make up about 50% of the world's population. And if 50% of the world's population is not adding value, we can already imagine what that will do to our overall GDP as a country. Then another thing, that lack of education is we'll continue to see child marriage. It's not going anywhere. This is because they don't know better. We'll continue to see less representation of women or girls in leadership. And the bad thing with not having sufficient women in leadership is there'll be no one to do the women's talk for us. You can't have a man talk about issues of women or issues of girls. He doesn't understand it.
It's not in our shoes.
A man cannot be talking about menstrual hygiene.
Let's quickly take
Yes.
this. I pray this goes through. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Your name and where are you calling us from?
My name is Peggy from
Calling from Wegi.
Oh, Peggy.
One of us
Hi,
protect
Ado Masaka.
Okay, then we didn't get your name.
Mary.
Mary, okay, let's have your contribution.
And I'll just advise women because even me, I'm a victim. I'm a victim of even this program today. For me, I'm greatly appreciated.
Thank you.
So if anyone that is having a teenager, you hold it very well. But when I'm married, I have 2 kids. I have only one daughter. But the father, every time, he said that he's a female child, so we advise the voice. So, let's hear we just to take care of the children. He said, I don't need them, that I give them to me, and now I present you. He gave them to me. I started selling pure water, selling God, I thank God. My daughter is in the very right thing, and I think that in that practice in 2 years, she can play very well. And time like this December, she's the one that even provides for the family. So, we have my advice for women. Sometimes men, they look at me that they are not in debt. They are something, even me. I make me work for it, and myself, she always focus on her education, even no matter how I put her in it. She come back, she goes to school, even with her school. She performs very well.
All right. Thank you. Do you have any question for Gladys?
Hello?
Do you have any question for our guest this morning?
Hello, ma, I can't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me? You get question for our guest this morning. You be
Ma?
do you get question where you want ask our guest this morning?
I think she's not here.
Okay.
That's a network issue completely.
Honestly.
Mary, do well to call back if you have a question for Gladys.
All right.
We are here for you.
All right, so the number again is 070-7242-6258, 070-7242-6258. Let's have your contribution.
Okay, Gladys, I wanted to, time is almost coming close, but I just want to raise it up. We're talking about adding values. And if we look at the report reaching us now, it's not really on the pleasant side. There's a high rate of pregnancy and child marriage. What factors really led to it? Because then in the good old days, we said we were not aware, we were not taught, and sex education came into our classrooms. But why is the high rate of early pregnancy and child marriage?
So, in as much as our classrooms have embraced sex education, our communities have not. Our families have not. You rarely have parents who sit down, or mothers. In fact, it's both ways, both father and mother, who sit down with their daughters or their sons and say, you know what? I understand you're advancing in age, hormones might be playing a few tricks on you here and there, but this and this is what to do. These are some of the things you need to know. You see some ladies they see their period and they're not sure what to do. Some girls, because they were not taught, no one told them anything. So it's at that point they try to start figuring out, okay, what exactly is this? And we've had very, not hilarious stories now, very stories that one would look at it and start to pity the girl because she doesn't know any better. You see people don't even know how to calculate their circle. Some women don't even know that maybe there's something biologically wrong with them because they were not taught all of this. So the first thing is parents need to make their home conducive and also provide that sex education for the child. If you can talk about any other thing, how about that subject matter? It's not a sin, it's not a taboo. We need to look past that point of where we think, oh, there's something wrong with having these conversations. And then we also need to provide access to some of these healthcare services. Now, if you go to some of our remote communities where they have maybe primary healthcare centers, some girls will tell you, I went into that place to ask a few questions, and in fact, I was met with so much maybe resistance and judgmental attitude from the service provider, from the nurse and all of that. So healthcare providers need to do better. They need to look at it. We are not encouraging people to be promiscuous, no. We're not encouraging people to toss aside morality, but there is a way you can speak to someone and make them understand that, okay, at this age, you shouldn't be talking this. You should focus on maybe education. Sex will come later, perhaps when you're married, when you're older, when you can make better decisions for yourself. But at this point, that shouldn't be your focus. Then even at community level too, we need to start naming and shaming perpetrators of these evil acts.
Exactly.
Because sometimes, right, we talk about teenage pregnancy, but I hope we know that some of these teenagers who got pregnant, it wasn't consensual. Some of them were raped. So we need to start naming and shaming these perpetrators and hand them over to the authorities. Don't cover up. Don't try and solve it in your chief palace. Once it gets to the point of rape, I hope we know that it has moved from civil and it has gotten into criminal. You hand over to the state immediately. You do not have the authority as a traditional ruler or a religious leader to cover up for the perpetrator, because then you yourself become an accomplice as such. If you are apprehended, you will go in for it, you serve some time, just like the perpetrator is doing. Even churches can do better. Sometimes young people tell you, I did a sensitization in a church, and after talking to the older people, I said, we are the younger ones. Those are the people I want to speak with. And then I went to the questions did not stop coming. Now, these are questions ordinarily, some of them, because I asked, have you discussed this with your parents? And I cannot. So you see, we need to do better as parents. We need to do better as older siblings. And when kids raise certain concerns about a person, a place, please adhere to it. We've seen girls who say, I don't want to go back to that school. And you just feel like this child is becoming unruly. But perhaps there's something there, there's someone molesting them, then they're not able to speak up for themselves. Schools also have a huge role to play. You need to create that zero tolerance environment. Even if it's a staff who is perpetrating this form of violence or this ill, hand them over to the authorities. Do not try to cover it up. Do not try to whittle down the severity of these issues. And even for our law enforcement, there's a role for them to play also. When these issues are reported, don't say it's a domestic matter. Leave it now. Say now between Papa and Pikin. No. We need to do better. You need to recognize. I like what the police is doing. They are gradually putting forward gender decks in most police stations. You can also see the same in most MDAs now. That is as a result of national gender policy, but we can do better. We also need to train the staff. We don't need just only at one command. We need all the commands, all the divisions, those little outposts. They should have a gender officer, someone that if this case is common, this person can address it with a better understanding, not from a judgmental standpoint.
All right, thank you so much. Let's take this call. Hello, good morning. Kindly turn down the volume of your radio set.
Oh, good morning. Hi, today.
Fine, thank you. What is your name and where are you calling us from? Your name, please.
It's able to, give some remedies or raise some factors that normally lead to the high rate of pregnancy
Okay.
in the society. But there is one point I would like to talk about. That is in my opinion, the main factor that is responsible for high rates of pregnancy in the society is the attainment of adolescence.
The what?
The girl,
Attainment of
Age of
adolescent, okay.
there are those hormones in her, normally, triggers or push her, to have sex. So this hormone cannot be, controlled. There's something that they're inbuilt. So this is the main thing that normally engage or carry the attention of God to go and look for a boy, to them, maybe the end of getting pregnancy.
All right.
So, one way to address this is to marry this girl. This is my own,
All right, thank you. We didn't get your name. Should be married off. What we are kicking against that. We are using this platform to say that early marriage is not good for the girl child, and that is what this we are treating. The topic we are treating today. And here you go.
Early marriage,
I'm sorry, I had to do that. I don't like doing that, but I had to.
Hormones can be disciplined, can be controlled towards positive things. It's not because you have hormones, then you just have to get married. No.
If I would also ask.
Yes, I was going to ask for
Please,
your
I would come
take
from the
on-
standpoint of the law. It looks like this caller is not aware of the position of the law. So,
Yeah.
by virtue of the Child's Rights Act of 2003, anyone who is under the ages of 18 that gets married or you marry off that person, it is an offense. In fact, a criminal one at that. And the perpetrator is likely to be punished. Is most likely to be punished. Then you look at the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act of 2015. It also looks at or talks about any form of discrimination against women or girls or generally human beings as a whole. Now, this scholar states that once a girl attains the age of adolescence, she's married off. That is discriminatory because you haven't said the same for the male folks.
Yeah.
So you are discriminating against the female folks, and that is what we are looking at eliminating from our society. So, of course, the same applies for male, the same applies for female. Once people are growing, hormones start playing out. But the right information you give them the right access to this information? Can they walk into a primary healthcare center? They give them a leaflet that they can comprehend in their perhaps local language or with illustrations that teaches them that, okay, you shouldn't engage in this, you shouldn't engage in that. And again, I hope we know people have the right to make choices. So if someone decides that I do not want abstinence, I want to go into this activity, are there also laid down instructions that just in case you do, these are some of the things that you might contract? Perhaps an STI, perhaps AIDS, you might get pregnant, VVF, and things like that. So we have moved from the 1980s standpoint, where you say once a woman starts to, some people say mature, and then I wonder what in the world is maturity? What is the benchmark for maturity? So we need to move from that standpoint. That is an old thinking. We move into progressive, which is allow them, but guide them to be able to make right decisions, right choices, and allow the woman to be able to flourish. If you marry off someone, people mature very early, or people become adolescents. I went to a boarding school. At 9, people started seeing their period. Do you want to marry out
a 9-year-old because she's...
Then that means we'll have a society filled with women who women who are not empowered, women who gradually begin to shrink, women who gradually begin to become invisible. They're not contributing anything to society. They don't have a say. We have moved from where we say women are to be seen and not heard. Women are to be heard. They have a lot to say, and they should be listened to.
Also, I would like to also add that it is in the place, it is important to let the girl child to also decide whether they want to be married off or not, because in most cases you see forced marriages where the bride will be crying, you know, not wanting to do that. Maybe that child wants to go into school, you know. They have the right to be educated. Nene?
Okay, Gladys, this is just like value teenagers. These are, let's say 16, 17, 18, take to the university or the polytechnic. I have a situation where a lot of young children are talking to me that I'm going to school and they are giving me condoms. That's a boy. And I said, okay, let me take this further. What are the girls taking? The girls are taking skirts and jeans.
Exactly.
So tell us, what's the right value they should take to school?
So when we look at growth and development of children, we should look more at things that are productive, to be honest. We should look at building young persons who will become better adults. And for you to become a better adult, you should have the right values, like you mentioned. Some of these right values include soft skills. Some of these right values include good communication skills, good writing skills, networking skills, aside the regular skills you get from the four walls of the academic institution. So giving a teenager a condom to take to school, it's not the right value. You are already imprinting something in their mindset. Of course, I know that perhaps that is a precautionary measure, just in case it happens. But how about we teach abstinence? We still know that some people, even if you preach abstinence, they go ahead to. But giving them condom is more like endorsing what their thoughts or what they already have in mind. So how about we teach abstinence? How about we teach them becoming advocates for a better cause? Young people can engage in other things that are more productive. They can engage in grooming their other colleagues. They can engage in tutoring their other colleagues, perhaps forming a class discussion. These days, there are 1,001 opportunities on the internet. Opportunities for internship with various development partners, opportunities for self-development, opportunities to liaise with the government, opportunities to improve on policies. Last year, I was on a panel where they were looking at a policy for a better FCT for the Nigerian youth. We had youth from different local governments come around to make their inputs here and there, and at the end of the day we streamlined that policy paper to something that was desirable and workable. We can have youths put forward their energy into a more productive venture. But giving them condoms to go to school, it's more like endorsing. I know it's precautionary, but again, it's more like endorsing perhaps what they already have in mind, or emboldening them actually, because they could go ahead to say, you know what, even if you're preaching abstinence, well, my parents gave me condom coming to school, so they know better,
Exactly.
right? And then they throw away that other mindset.
So, for the my final thought would be, a girl child deserves to be seen, to be held, nurtured, and loved. Don't just kick it away, even you don't have a girl child. At times, just listen. What's happening in your environment? You might be the solution everybody is looking for.
All right, thank you for that, Nene. And yours will be what, Gladys?
So we need to understand that the girl child is not an option. She is not inferior. In fact, she is the pathway to the next generation. She should be treated with love, with care, and supported to develop herself both professionally and in her personal life.
All right, thank you so much. A resource person this morning has been Gladys Emmanuel Esquire. I didn't call that earlier on. It's very important. Advocacy. She's the advocacy officer and in-house lawyer for Tabitha Empowerment Center. Once again, thank you so much, Gladys,
Thank you
for
so
coming
much.
through.
I had fun discussing.
All right, we do too. All right, thank you so much. So as we conclude this morning, our discussion on the girl child today, we want to emphasize that educating the girl child is not just a moral imperative, but a necessary step. It is something that is non-negotiable. It is something that we all have. All hands must be on deck to ensure that the girl child is properly and adequately educated. Thank you so much, caller, for being a part, and for those who couldn't get through to us, we sincerely apologize, maybe due to network. And for Mary Corden from Ado Masaka, thank you so much for your contribution. And the other person, we didn't get his name, and we have said that straight is not. I made a mistake earlier on when I said it was after I said it that I realized that I was saying that a girl child should be allowed to also decide. I meant women, not the girl child. So I have to come back to correct, to retract that. So thank you so much, our callers, for joining us this morning. It's on this note that we'll call it a day on the Morning Grill. Do stay tuned tomorrow for another edition of the Morning Grill. Nene,
Exactly.
thank you so much for being here. Fire on the mountain. Nene, we don't have right to fire on the mountain. Thank you so much. Because after I said that, I was like, no, you better go back before someone.
Can you imagine?
Yes, exactly.
Someone to still be thinking
There
of
is
that.
fire
It's a
on the
problem.
mountain,
That is a serious problem.
and nobody seems to be on the run. Oh, there is fire on the mountain top,
So my niece
and
who
no
says they
one
have
is
one at age
around
9 and one at 8 should be married up.
Thank you so much, Bob Genesis. Thank you, Joseph D. Thank you
Tell you
for being
what
a
I
part of the
see
program.
on my